Hello, welcome back to LIVENODING. In this episode, I want to share these two examples. They are basically like an identical setup based on a grid. So it's like a 3D grid in XYZ. The first one is actually just like a point cloud, and it is you can if I turn on subsurface scattering, you can see it's just like a bunch of balloons, and while the other ones will actually treat the render as mesh, okay, with some kind of volumetric. So let me turn that off again. So they are really identical, but I just want to share these examples. I will share the blend as well, just so it's clear and you can understand this very well. So they are using the same material. If I show you the material, it's basically just a principal BSDF, and there's this attribute call that's being transferred from the noise texture. Okay, so let's take a look at the first one first. So we have a grid 2x2, and it's all procedural, and I can change the number of points. So I'm converting this grid into points, and then I instance it into mesh line, and I can create more or less, and yeah, it will change and update automatically. And then I realize the instance, so it's back becoming like just points. And here I'm setting this point radius using noise texture. So if I kind of animate this, the radius will be controlled by the noise, and then at the same time the color also being transferred outside into this call attribute. All right, so the other one is very similar, except that with this one we are using point to volume and volume to mesh. Okay, this can come in handy if you are doing a lot of point cloud scanning. Sometimes you want to switch between the two, and so this one is turning it into volume, from points to volume and volume to mesh, and the volume is getting the radius from the noise. It's totally the same, and we set material and shade smooth. However, we also use this capture attribute, so it's capturing the attributes of color while it's still points, and then transferring that data into the nearest points of the mesh that we generated here. Okay, so normally I pass this into this guy right there, so but we don't need to do that, so we can just cut this, and as long the whole points is like connected. So yeah, basically we capture the attributes of color while it's there, because once we remesh it, the color data will disappear. So we capture the attribute first, and then we transfer it into the nearest mesh. I thought that I need to plug this there, but somehow it needs to work like this. I don't know, it's sometimes slightly confusing, but anyway, we get a result. And when you're doing like a remesh inside geometry nodes, however, it's not exactly identical like if you are doing actual remeshing out here. This one is actually a lot more efficient, while this guy over here, the one in the center, will create like the inside of the surface that you need to clean up. When you do the remesh, normally the color will also disappear. So if you really want to transfer, you need to use another geometry nodes to transfer from here to this guy, or sometimes you just simply bake it. That's the easiest. So yeah, that's basically this example. It's pretty interesting that if I switch to Eevee, we can still see the noise and it's updating in real time. This is like mesh object as well, and let's see if I change the scale, you can see the noise being generated. If we play around with the shapes of the grid, let's see, instance on point, realize instance, you can always set position here and plug the noise. Oh yeah, in this case still like wiggling the grid. We need to set it up here. So now we are back to old example where I'm just animating the noise, animating points to the noise, and we get that. Except that this is like an actual mesh that you can bake out as alembic. So if you ever want to bake it, you can bake it as alembic. Hopefully it will carry the color as well. It might not, but yeah, it's really quite interesting to play around with just points and colors and the noise. And yeah, I think this is a really good example, so I want to share it with you. Hopefully this is useful. Thanks again for tuning in, and I'll see you next time. Thank you. Bye.